Welcome back to our class, everyone. When I was in school, I liked to doodle random shapes and lines in my notebook instead of listening to the teacher. Usually, I had Disney characters or, random characters I made up in my head. Little did I know that that was actually called Zentangle. Here we have an example of Zentangle. Zentangle is an abstract piece of artwork that uses tangled lines and shapes all mixed together to make one huge composition. You might be wondering, what is abstract art? Abstract art is artwork that has no identifiable form. For instance, here we have an example again of a Zentangle, which is random lines that are tangled together. I use zigzag lines and diagonal lines to suggest the emotion of anger or confusion. Here we have another example of abstract artwork. It's random lines and color that suggest an emotion, but you can't really see a form in it. Here's another example of abstract artwork. Once again, you can't really see a tree, there's no person, there's no animal, it's just random blob of paint. That is abstract art. If you are interested, the Modern Museum has lots of great examples of abstract art there you can check out. The first step when you're making a Zentangle, we'll be making Zentangles based on an emotion. So decide on your emotion and write it down on the back of your page. I'm going to be doing excitement. E-X-C-I-T-E-M-E-N-T. Excitement. Don't forget to put your name on your paper. So on your back, you can brainstorm ideas on what lines you can use to show excitement. Excitement is usually shown with movements. Diagonal lines are lines you can use for movement. But here's the thing. There are two types of diagonal lines. The one you see right here, and then also an invisible diagonal line. Such as, let's say, I want to do a pattern of spirals. I can make a pattern of diagonal spirals facing up, and then they go down like so. That's called invisible. Let's say you have a favorite character and you want to use their logo. So I like Green Lantern, so I might do a pattern of Green Lantern rings. Something like, I think it's a circle, then you have diagonal line here, and like that. So I might do a pattern of the Green Lantern, but it's going to be diagonal, so something like this. Brainstorm ideas of what kind of shapes you can use to show the emotion excitement. Okay. I can also use zigzag that's facing up. If I'm sad and happy are kind of very similar. When you're happy, you can use a curved line that goes up like so to show happiness. And maybe you have some bubbles in here. The circles represent peacefulness and happy. If you're sad, you might use a downward curve, something like this, that looks like they're crying. And you can do a pattern of, say, teardrops. Just like that. Brainstorm ideas in your back of paper of what lines you can use in your final one. Okay, on to the big part. The next step, you're going to be choosing two different shapes to use for your base of the Zentangle. I love the ocean, so I'm going to be using the dolphin. I also love Harry Potter, so I might use the base of a circle for the snitch. Okay, so your first step after you have decided on what your emotion you're doing is to create a composition of overlapping shapes. So I might start with my circle here and trace it. Alright, I'm going to overlap it and make another circle that overlaps that one. Now I'm going to take there are two types of shapes. We have geometric and organic. That's what you're going to be doing. Choose two different shapes to make your overlapping composition. So now I'm going to go with my dolphin, and I'm going to just kind of place it here. Or actually, let's do that. Actually, she's jumping over that. And we're going to trace it. It's okay if it goes off the page. Alright, there's my dolphin. Gotta close that off a little bit. And I might do this again, but this time I'll just do the tail. I actually kind of like that shape. Let's see. So I'm gonna go in, outline it. Alright, that's a good start. Now I'm gonna use maybe a circle here. Actually, yeah, let's do it here. Once again, you do not have to outline these if you don't want to. You can make your own. Alright, so kind of empty. So I'm gonna go in now with my tail and just outline the tail right there. Okay. So now I have a good starting point for my Zentangle. The next step, you're going to go in and erase any part that you do not want. So I'm going to say, okay, I kind of like this shape here as a whole, but I don't want that line there. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to erase it. So that's going to be one shape. I really like that shape here. So I'm going to outline that. Keep this line. And that line here, but I don't want that line there. So I'm going to go in and erase it. You're just looking for shapes that are very interesting. They're interesting to look at and you want to keep them in your design. I like the tail there, so I'm going to erase that. Let's see. I kind of like this shape here, so I'm going to go in and erase that. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this video so you can see the rest. Once you are done with your overlapping shapes, the next part is to go look at it and find shapes that you find interesting and outline them. Erase any lines that you do not want. Now it's time for the fun part, inking. You'll be using a thin point Sharpie and then a regular Sharpie to make your lines. I find it easiest to just choose one small shape first to start with and then go from there. So think about what it looks like. To me, it kind of looks like an axe. So I'm going to go in and just make a pattern of diagonal lines close together to give it movement. When you're thinking about doing patterns, consider what you wanted. Alright, so I got my first shape done. I used diagonal lines to show movement. When you're thinking about your design and your Zentangle, consider repeating a pattern multiple times. What that does is it creates balance. So I have this pattern right here. I might want to repeat it right here as well to create balance. So I'll go in and do that same pattern again, but the opposite way to create balance. Let's speed this video up a little bit. Alright, so I have done this pattern 4 times all throughout. By repeating it, it shows balance. When the viewer is looking at it, it draws the eye towards this way. Alright, you'll notice I also use invisible lines. Here we have small diagonal lines together, but they are facing diagonal to suggest movement. Here we have diagonal lines that are also kind of curved. They're going in a curved direction to suggest movement. Alright, for my next pattern, I might do a spiral line. I think, what can I do a spiral pattern? Actually, let's do bubbles. I might carry that over. try to continue the pattern you did, just by making a difference. So I have this line here. I'm going to carry over and make bubbles and connect them. Carry this line over and make a big bubble. Here we might have bubbles here. And that's bubble's going to be carrying over here. The reason I'm doing bubbles, like I told you guys before, I love the ocean. Inside the ocean, we have bubbles. So I might do a pattern of bubbles and then curved lines to suggest the ocean here. Think about things like, if you like basketball, you could do a pattern of basketballs over and over again. All right. Let's do the eye here for the dolphin. And we'll have bubbles. Alright, I'm going to color it in. At this point, you should have at least like 4 different patterns. Let's see, 1, yeah, 2, it's about 3. Now I'm going to go in and do a separate pattern in here. Each box is going to have a different pattern. Remember, you can repeat your pattern at least 3 times or 4, depending on how you want to do it. So here, I might do mermaid scales. Here we have a start of a Zentangle. Notice how I'm repeating the pattern more than once. So we have this curved pattern here of scales in this little shape, this shape here. And I'm going to also do it right here as well. The reason you do that, the reason you repeat patterns over and over again at least 3 times, it creates balance. It draws the eye around the page. So I have it here, here, and then this corner here, it will draw the eye towards here. I might do a bubble here, and then this one here is going to be a big bubble, okay? This will be a different pattern. I might do a pattern of zigzags here for lightning. This here will be zigzag too. Maybe this will be zigzag here as well. I might do just one big spiral or Greek key. This might be a spiral here as well, a pattern of spirals. You're going to be repeating patterns over and over till you cover the entire page. The goal is to try to have as little white showing as possible. Here I have some white showing, but there's a pattern inside, so there's a purpose to it. If you want, you can also use value to shade in a shape of your choice. I did that because I really enjoy springtime and I love drawing roses. So when I drew a rose with my pencil, I shaded it in. If you want to do that, you can. You can have one organic shape on the top. It could be a rose. It can be maybe a baseball, or it can be a basketball, soccer, up to you. Draw some kind of shape that means something to you. You can have that in the foreground or in the center. And then the rest needs to be Zentangle. All right.